Hi, good evening. Welcome once again to the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon show right here on the Guyanese Critic. We also coming to you not only on Facebook and the Guyanese Critic and Daybreak News platform, but we also coming to you on YouTube, Guyanese Critic on YouTube. I want to say welcome to you once again, and I have with us here, of course, my co-host Freddie Kissoon. And I think we have in the midst of us, I think he's deliberately there in the hot seat, a gentleman who's no stranger to Guyana. In 2020, his name, although known especially in the chambers of the National Assembly, he was also known in the courtrooms and in Berbice, a lot of places there. Then, all of a sudden, in one evening, catapulted into history in a very profound way. Some will view him, of course, as a hero. Others will have different opinions. We're here to bring back some questions to Mr. Charrandas. On another forum along the line, myself and Dr. Yogmahadio, during the elections, I would have had interactions with Mr. Charrandas Persaud when we had those tumultuous 5 months. And we had some hard, tough questions for him. It would be appropriate for us to, or it would have been appropriate for us to have invited Mr. Charrandas Persaud back again to refresh our minds as to the role that he would have played, why he played those roles, why he took certain decisions, and of course, this would come at a time when the People's Progressive Party Civic under President Irfan Ali would be celebrating or observing 2 years in power, because you will recall on August the 2nd, 2020, he would have been sworn in as the president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. We don't want to waste any time here because Freddie is all shine. I've never seen Freddie this early. I've never seen him so dressed up. His hair is not fixed, normal Freddie, but he is here all ready to go. Freddie, I hand the floor over to you, and then you do the rest.
For those who are viewing us, I have known Charan more than 36 years. I taught him at UG, and we'll come back slightly to a particular nuance of UG. But I will open with a statement which is in my heart and in my mind and also my academic head. People die, but they leave things that do not die. And how we know those things do not die is because subsequent generations keep those things alive. Men and women make history, but we never know about the history they make unless scholars, scientists, journalists, and other people write about the history others make. And I want to say tonight for our viewers, it is my unshakable belief, it is my academic analysis that Charrandas Persaud is a Guyanese icon that has contributed immensely to the shaping of Guyanese society, to the shaping of this country's psychology, its soul. I mean every word I'm saying here. After 2020, there would be no freedom in this room. There will be no Freddie. There will be no Freddie Gildarie show if we did not allow and accepted the right of people to vote in 2020. Charrandas must be contextualized in that contemporary period of history. So, with that definitive statement and that historical reflection of Charrandas' role, my first question to him is, we were at a birthday party, a child's birthday party in David Street, and you express extreme psychological and mental anguish at what the AFC became. you and I were in a corner while the party was going on, and you said to me, Freddie, I wish these people would be out of power. What they have done, words cannot describe the betrayal of the Guyanese people, of me who joined the AFC, that's you, and you talk about Bobbies. Then you said to me, we can get these people out by a no confidence vote. And Freddie, I'll vote tomorrow for it, but how would I leave Parliament? I'm afraid for my life. Months after you did vote the no confidence, and people were waiting for you in the street. That reminds me of a movie, a war movie, where the platoon know there's no way out and they're going to die. What was that feeling when you look onto the street? The government had fallen, Charles.
Freddie, first let me say thank you very much for having me on your program. It's been a while since I was privileged to be talking to Guyanese people generally. But to answer your question, Freddie, that night I had given up, not on anything else, but on life itself. I knew that I wasn't going to get out of Parliament. I wasn't going to get out of Guyana, period. Because I knew the nature of the beast. I knew the people I was dealing with, and I knew that by supporting the because I knew I would support the no confidence before I got into Parliament that Friday. And I'm saying this now, my brothers and sisters of Guyanese origin, and to the rest of you who may be tuning into this program. I knew that I was going to vote in that no confidence against the government. I was hoping, and I'm saying this publicly, that somewhere in the debate, Harman and Ramjatan might have said or could have said something to make me change my mind. But I'll tell you this, and I will name my friends and colleagues. Rajkumar, Bonnie Rajkumar to me, my friend Odwin Rutherford, and Michael Carrington, the four of us who were backbenchers, we talked of the way we, the AFC, literally melted into the realm of the PNC. We were no longer AFC. We spoke to Nagamutu. We spoke to him while he was sitting there as Prime Minister. I said, look, we need to have a caucus before we go into Parliament to decide what we are going to vote on. All that man said to me was just vote when we vote. But how could I do that? How could we do that? It was Rutherford, Rajkumar, Charrandas, three people on the government side who would have to vote first. And so we were told to support the government's anything. Any policy, any bill, we are supposed to support them. I said, but that's not what we're here for. We are here to literally be like the pound weight on the scale. That never happened. My brothers and sisters, I have to apologize to you now for 3 years of being just a yes man. We had no say in anything that was presented to Parliament by way of a bill, a policy, and one of them, I'll give you one. Prime Minister Hamilton Green's pension bill. This man, when he was Prime Minister, could not have been earning more than maybe as Prime Minister 300,000, not even that much, but let's give him that much. By adjusting his salary or his pension, he will then be getting, or has been receiving the salary that people like Prime Minister Sam Hines would have gotten in this day and age, which would be close to like $2 million a month, or the equivalent. Now, we had no say. It was not just a regular bill. It was Prime Minister Hamilton Green's pension bill. The man was not, he was Prime Minister almost 40 years ago. And yet, we put a bill in Parliament, we debated, we supported a bill that would give him today's Prime Minister's pension. And we, the AFC, had no say in that. And I don't have to tell you, I'm not going to say anything else about Hamilton Green. But that was one of the things that is so glaring. We had no say. We had to vote on that. And that, among other things, like several other bills were passed in Parliament. The Juvenile Justice Bill is another one. Many of you may know of that. Some, if you don't know, you will know now. The juvenile justice bill says if you're 14 years or younger, you cannot be criminally liable. England, it's 10. Our neighboring Trinidad, it's 12. Why are we going to 14? A lot of 14-year-olds have children. They are father or mother to some child. We want to allow them to be criminals without having to answer to the courts. And again, we as the AFC supported a bill like that. And so, Freddie, I'll say this to you and to all our Guyanese brothers and sisters. Those were some of the things that went against the grain. I did not join the AFC to become PNC. I joined the AFC so that we could have been the pound weight on the scale. And with 6, 7 seats, 8 seats maybe in 2015, we could have gotten, instead of a coalition, or in 2020, we could have gotten big double digits and move up. Because we could have been there to control the way things were happening. That never happened. And so I was stuck with saying yes for 3.5 years as a member of parliament. I did that. And when finally, on the 21st of December 2018, all I said was yes. They made me a yes man. And on the vote of the no confidence, I said yes, nothing more. And I was condemned for it. You may have heard, if you watch the video, Jennifer Wade shouted, Charrandas, you're going to die tonight. Nobody did anything. My left arm that was hit by Jermaine Figuera, you will have seen that back-fisted blow that he gave me. Dark as I am, my hand was discolored. And those were things, and you may have heard him swearing, change your so-and-so vote, you can vote again. Well, yes, I did vote again. And on the second vote, which should not have happened, but it happened, I did not say just yes and just one yes. I gave them 3 yeses so they can understand that I am a real yes man.
Thank you very much. Yes, yes, yes. Change history in Guyana, and that was the vote, the no confidence vote. Mr. Charrandas, leading up to those few hours, did you say to anybody, your friends, Michael Carrington, to Freddie Kissoon, anybody that you were going to vote in that particular direction? The reason I'm asking, because there were some persons who were ready waiting to whisk you away in the car, and so it looks as if it was a plan. Could you give us a little, what happened there? Or is it that at that point in time, Charrandas says, look, I'm going to go in that direction? Give us a little, what were your thoughts?
But can I intercept here?
Yeah,
Intercept.
I think he has to be careful that they may be serving members of parliament and there may be people in politics still in the AFC. And he may, in fact, endanger them by saying, yes, I told this person, I told that person. So I'll just...
I'll leave it up to Mr. Charrandas. He's a lawyer.
I know he told me, and I'm in no party, so nobody can tell me anything, and they know they will receive my scatological vocabulary. But there's still people in the AFC that...
I call on Mr. Charrandas' legal mind to step in here.
No, I did not say it to anybody. None of these boys knew what I was going to do. And like I said, I even told Peter, who I had asked for protection, if and when this thing happens. And I'm saying if and when. As I said earlier, I was hoping, beyond hope, that Harman and Ramjatan in their debate, in their presentation to show how confidence must be held or had in the government, could have changed my mind. I was silently contemplating voting them out. And it wasn't voting the PNC out, Freddie, I must say this. It was to vote the AFC out of a position that had taken in betrayal of all that we spoke about. We did not, or we weren't supposed to blend with the PNC. We were supposed to be there to control things and control the PPP as well as the PNC. But what we did was we took control of Parliament, took control of the government, and ignored the people. We simply wanted to. And Nagamutu's beef was strictly against now Vice President Bara Jagdeo. This man had no issue with anything or anybody except Bara Jagdeo. Anytime you talk to him about anything, he will tell you how come he was given the party leadership That should have given me. Jagan said that I should have been. And I don't know what Jagan told him, but he was so bitter. He was so bitter. He constantly repeated getting to Jagdeo for anything and almost everything. And you know what? I'll tell you this. Bara Jagdeo was smiling anytime Nagamutu would raise issues. So those were some of the things, Freddie, that I spoke to Peter and I said, look, if I change my mind, then it's okay. But if I don't change my mind and I
That's Peter
continue
Ramsrud.
with, yes, Peter Ramsrud, I go ahead with this act that I'm planning, that I'm thinking I should do to get the AFC to straighten their brains a bit, then I will need help. And that's how that came out. I did not discuss or say anything to Bonnie Rajkumar or the other two guys, Rutherford
and Carrington.
and
And not
Carrington.
even Freddie Kissoon.
No, at that
You
time,
didn't,
no.
you didn't hear that and you the guys were friends?
Don't let him pursue. Don't
Okay,
let
go
him
ahead,
pursue
Frank.
that angle.
No, not on that day at all. Nobody knew anything. I mean, I sat there and I was very nervous.
I looked at that video, Mr. Charrandas, and I could imagine what was going through your mind, that you're surrounded and you're being hunched. There's a word I learned from my grandmother, by the way,
Hunched,
Freddie.
yes.
You're being hunched by somebody, and you're sitting there and you're defiant. Yes, yes, yes. At that point in time, did you say, oh my God, what did I do?
No. At that point in time, I was sure that I did the right thing. I was positive I did the right thing. Removal of the AFC was paramount. It was necessary, and it happened that night. Even though they dragged it on, it was that night that it happened.
Before Freddie jumped in, the obvious question that follows from that, now that you're 2 years later, yesterday I saw His Excellency the President made a statement with regards to the 2 years
4
that his
years.
government has been in office.
Oh.
Would it have been a decision that you regretted?
Can you just rephrase your question for me?
Did you
please?
regret the decision of the that you voted yes in that no confidence in December of 2018?
No. Up to now, no. And I'll tell you why no, Gildarie. I'll tell you why.
An exhilarating no, a volcanic
Yes.
no.
An
No regrets.
emphatic no. You know what? I don't know that, or I didn't know then that the PPP would win the election that followed the no confidence. But that was not primary to me. Primary, paramount, most important was removal of the AFC from Parliament. And that happened. Now, I'll say this. During the campaign, and we are seeing it now, you know, President Ali at that time was a member of the opposition. Somehow, I don't know, but he was also chairman of the PAC, the Public Accounts Committee. And when you listen to him question and examine the books of the various ministries, including GRA, you saw this man who was well educated as far as what was going on. He knew what was going on. One example, Ministry of Health. Walter Lawrence, Minister of Health, was sitting in at the PSC when Ministry of Health was being examined. She should not have been there. That's the first thing. As minister, her permanent secretary to answer questions should have been the person there. What came up was they had, and I'll just say X number of drugs. We can say 100 if you want, but it was a lot. Thousands of expired drugs. The question that came up, that did not come up, I should say, they destroyed half of the expired drugs. What would be your question, gentlemen? If the Ministry of Health has expired drugs and they destroy half of the expired drugs,
Why didn't you destroy the rest?
why didn't you destroy the rest? Or what happened to the rest of the expired drugs? And so that was my question. Minister Walter Lawrence, as she then was Minister of Health, sat there and objected to my question before I even asked the question. I knew what my colleague is going to ask, but please, I would like to ask that that question not be entertained. The question, I still voiced my concern because I said, the minister is so smart. I never asked a question. She's objecting to it. Well, then you saw what the Minister of Health was all about. And so, my brothers and sisters, again, that was another thing. You knew that they were feeding the people expired drugs. If not, They were using the drugs and supplying the people, still feeding them, and billing the department for drugs that they wouldn't or did not buy. Those were things that you saw being in bed with them, literally. And I'm saying in bed meaning knowing exactly what they were doing.
Charan, before you go away, if you could go on YouTube and look at our previous guest, the chairman of the opposition party, Anuk, what he has to say should be contextualized in political theory in relation to your vote of no confidence. He said, and I didn't know this, I think few Guyanese knew this. He said, Timothy Jonas, he was one of the original person that was involved in the formation of the AFC. Other things but his life and his profession, he didn't have time to go into the AFC leadership.
Okay.
And then he said, when he saw what the AFC became in government, he was just dispirited, he was just disgusted. You felt the same way.
Yes.
Now, Timothy Jonas chose conscience after he saw what the AFC became in 2015. You chose conscience. And yet we have this depravity of criticism on the one hand, and we have the silence of mainstream society, that the depravity of criticizing you and saying you're an opportunist, and the silence of mainstream society that has never intellectualized on the role of conscience in your vote. I am saying here tonight, for the record, these programs will last forever. What you did was banal and common around the world, in which a legislator, a minister, say to his government, my conscience does not allow me to vote. Do you know what caused the Prime Minister Bastille Pandey to lose power? Pandey had some very senior party members in parliament in his cabinet. And when he was leaving, he put an unknown person to act as prime minister. And the senior guy said, you cannot do this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was a no confidence vote. And his own people, based on conscience, voted against Pandey. And that was the end of Pandey.
Yes, true.
I would have liked to see the University of Guyana academics, mainstream journalism, contextualize the role of conscience in your vote. Instead, we have things about he took bribe, he's an opportunist. For me, that conscience that went behind your vote is now recorded in history.
Freddie, let me say this. I don't know how many of you know, but you may have read that I won a slander action that I filed against Ramjatan for having called me a traitor and a Judas. His only witness in the matter, his only witness was Amna Ali, who was at the time the chief whip of the coalition team. Amna Ali, the last question that Amna Ali had to answer, she was asked, Ma'am, would you say that Mr. Persaud's vote in the no confidence made him a traitor and a Judas or one of them? And Amna said no. I couldn't see him. I didn't see him I still don't see him as a traitor or a Judas. Mr. Persaud voted according to his conscience. That was the end of Ramjatan's, my lawsuit against Ramjatan. The last answer given by Amna Ali.
It should be the end of his political career anyway. Go on.
The question again was, he said I took bribe and he called Amna to support his claim. Amna did not.
No one else he called.
Nobody else.
Nobody
else.
Prime Minister.
He actually named the Prime Minister as a witness, but you know Nagamutu would not come out to say something like that because
he's in ignominious obscurity in New York.
Yes, he didn't want to show his face
He
near to me.
didn't call the commissioner of police who said they were investigating you for national security.
Then Leslie James.
Yeah.
I tell you. But you know what? That came out in court, and having testified. I gave my statement presented by, let me say this, Christopher Ram and Christopher Thompson, two lawyers who
Adrian
represented
Thompson.
me. Christopher Thompson.
Okay.
Yeah, young lawyer, brilliantly handled the case, and they won. They won. Ramjatan was ordered by the court to pay me $7 million for destroying my name and calling me all kinds of things. Well, we'll see how that goes. But
He was the Minister of National Security.
Yes.
He went publicly and talked about gold, and you made cards, and nothing was presented in court.
Nothing. What he did, he went to the casino and demanded the records for the casino. He went to Tamesh Jagmohan, the jeweler, the trader in
the
gold,
gold man.
and in another company on Rob Street. And there was no charge. They were investigating, as they said. Those were all illegal action. You cannot go and take people's records like that. You got to have a court order to do that. The bully attitude and the police, Leslie James was leading the police team to go and do all these things. If that is what you call police power, then something is wrong with what we're doing in this country. But Ramjatan, as Minister of National Security, as it was then, did all of that. If that man cannot see himself as I don't know how to describe him, honestly. I honestly don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I could recall, and Freddie, you would not know. I think Mr. Charrandas would remember quite clearly that when he went, I think it was between New York and Canada, and we were on during that 5 months, and he was somewhere in the basement, and we were trying to interview him,
Yes.
and the connection was bad, and the signal was going on and off. I think we were using Zoom or WhatsApp or something. I can't remember, on Kaito Radio. But I want to ask you, Mr. Charrandas, along the same lines. Were you, because there was something about talking about gold and so on as a payoff, were you asking, could you put some clarity here? Were you asking about how you could buy gold? What was the story there? Or was it just a rumor that they were asking?
Raphael Trotman was the Minister of Energy, Natural Resources. At that time, I told him, I said, look, I would like to be an exporter of gold because Berbice doesn't have anything like that. And I have people in Canada and America who would like to buy gold. To get a license to export gold, you'd have to first build a gold facility. And that has to have all kinds of security, and the structure of the building would have cost me about $20 million. But I did find out from Tamesh Jagmohan and this young, I can't remember the guy's name, a company on Rob Street. And that is why I was inquiring about gold. Now, what is wrong with that? Trotman was helping me to see how we can get a license. It wasn't a secret at all.
And this was long before.
That was
no
long,
confidence.
right, Freddie? It was long before the no confidence was even tabled. Long before that. But they were like drowning rats catching a straw, looking for straw. They were just looking for straw, they can hold on to something. They went all over the place.
But surely the bribery thing has to have, the bribery thing just failed ignominiously because there was a court of law.
That's right.
There was a court of law hearing. And your chief accuser produced just one witness who contradicted him.
Everything,
So
yes.
one hopes that this bribery thing now just is thrown in the bottom of the ocean, but it wouldn't. Because for some people,
Yes.
you brought down, you prevented Burnhamism, and that is what I want to contextualize for history and your role. Charan, we are about the same age, and therefore we know Leonard Gildarie was too young.
Too young to know. The Burnham
My
era.
friend and your friend Kemraj Narayan, who's sitting in the studio, was much too young to understand what we went through
Yes.
with permanent power. Charan, I picked up my rucksack and said, tell my parents I'm leaving for early classes at UG. When I descended at UG and the campus, there was total confusion. So I wondered what's going on. This is 1976. This whole campus is a confusion. So I can't pictorialize the scene at UG. And so we found out that there were notices on the board with people's name who to go to the interior and do national service.
National service, yes, it was, yes.
Forbes Burnham,
It was
the permanent leader of Guyana, decided that. Chairman, you know, if that no confidence vote didn't weaken
We could have
these
been here
people,
again.
you know, we would have not have been in the studio.
Yes, that's true. It would have been Burnham all over again. Seriously, Freddie,
you-
yes. And that, for those who don't know, when you were a student at the university, I was, and that's how Freddie was teaching me as political science lecturer. I attended his class. But then I was asked to sign a contract to serve for 5 years after you finish your degree. But you had to do 1 year national service and to go in an interior, not just training outside. It was compulsory. And that I did not do, and so I could not finish my degree with Freddie's tutoring at that time. So for those of you who don't know what the Burnham regime did, almost 3 decades, 28 years of dictatorship, how could they get 70 and 80% and 65% of the votes? And of course, that's a long story.
Freddie always say, you know, is there anybody in Guyana you haven't taught? I'm asking. Since I've been here, we taught everybody in Guyana.
I almost taught David Granger, you know.
You did?
That's
Almost.
almost.
How old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
How old am I? Shall I tell people?
Oh,
my
you're
age?
old enough.
I'm old enough.
Yeah.
Okay, but you taught.
I'm old enough. I'm a senior citizen. I'm in advanced age.
I hope you get it.
Advanced.
What's in a number?
What's in a number?
Yeah, yeah.
Just a
We just
number,
put it in context. We like to contextualize, you know, and so I'm just bringing it in context for the folks. Mr.
Oh, you put it in
Charrandas.
context.
Yeah,
Thank you, Professor.
The people
Thank
were
you,
commenting,
Professor.
right, that when you listen to Freddie, you got to get the dictionary out. I don't know. He goes to the dictionary every day, pull out a word, and that's a day. That's a word of the day. But coming back, Mr. Charrandas, 2 years later, what are your thoughts on Irfan Ali and his shepherding this country, the economy in a oil and gas economy? We have to call it that.
You know, I mentioned it briefly just now. While he was sitting as PSC, he was looking in the right direction. He was pointing fingers at the right people. But obviously, they still bully their way out and around. And I even had a meeting in Florida with some boys there, or some people, a few women were there also. And I said, I see this man. Then I was speaking, I said, I see him as a very intelligent individual. He knows his work. He understands financial business, the business of financing, and he will actually be a very good president, because I then knew that he was the presidential candidate. The thing to note, though, is now the present, and let me say the present Irfan Ali, now president, is different from the Irfan Ali who was Minister of Housing. Now, almost the smallest child in every village knows who this person is. Not that he's president, but they know him because he goes around. And people who did not have an idea or any kind of knowledge of this individual who's now president, they have grown to like, and I can even say some have grown to love him. I have a sister in New York who said, no, he bright, you know. Now, I don't know what she meant, what she did, where she met him, but her views have changed, and that's just one person.
Freddie, you're not on Facebook. About 2 days back, a video surfaced of the president dancing. It's not the first time.
I saw it. Yeah.
You saw that? You could dance like that? This is a
He's
guy-
coming on this program. He's coming on this
I
program,
know
and
he's
I will ask the camera.
You
I will
wanna
ask the
dance?
cameraman for him and I to dance. I can't dance. One thing I cannot do, and I regret it badly, is to dance, because I love my wife immensely, and I would have liked to dance with her.
Waltzing or dancing? Like
What waltz? I like to hold her
Okay.
close and waltz.
So not that
When he comes to the program, I will ask him to show me some shots. I can't
No,
dance.
the man had
So-
some move, Mr.
No, he got
Mr.
moved,
Persaud,
he
I'm
got
not
moved.
sure whether you saw that, and I said, wow, but I think I saw after why I brought that situation up. I saw an Afro Guyanese. Not sure if he's a PPP supporter or they set him up or whatever it is, but this guy says, if you see a president and the way that he behaves and the way that he carries himself, you got to be happy that he's the president. And I'm not sure, I'm not here sitting as a PPP supporter or anything. I'm going to ask you the hard question. If the president is going to sit here, we're going to ask him what his performance. And so this show
You got to show some shots.
it's not about having a good time and making you look good. It's about putting things in perspective, as I love Freddie word, contextualize it for us to have an understanding. Because if you want to go forward, like I always said, if you want to look at a first world country, we got to start understanding where we are, where we've been, and where is it exactly you want to go. Mr. Charrandas, my question to you is the opposition leader. There's a new opposition leader now, Aubrey Norton.
Norton.
In a time when many right-thinking Guyanese are hoping to have an opposition that is strong, that could hold the feet of the government to the fire to make sure that they do the right thing. Are you satisfied that we have the right people in place in the opposition?
It's a simple answer to that question. Let's look at the now leader, Aubrey Norton.
The man who don't shake hands.
He's probably worried about COVID.
Oh, come on, man, Charan.
This man made a statement, we all know, that he has the statement, the poll that show the PA or the coalition won the election. Now, I don't know if you have something that's going to benefit the people you claim to be leading. Why are you hiding it? Why is it the people that you are telling you have it never saw this? Why is it you don't want to show it to them? Now, that would be my question. And if it's something as big as
Your answer to
seriously, if it's something as big as this, well, Mr. Norton, if you can show that the, let's just say, I always think it's the PNC, won the election, bring your statement of poll, make it public, and we can remove the government. Now, where are the statements of poll? Now, again, I don't like to I can't get into politics now, Freddie. I'm not a politician as I sit here. I'm just a regular Charrandas Persaud representing people of Guyana. But the but is, I would honestly like to see the leader of the opposition show the people the statement of poll. Why is it's locked off in the court? Why is it the courts do not release it to the public? I don't know.
I have to cut you here. You said something which we need to tell our viewers. We are not concerned this evening with your work as Indian High Commissioner. We are not interviewing you here as a diplomat. I have known you for 36 years. I consider you a national icon, and I consider you someone who has made history, has contributed enormously to the prevention of dictatorship. And for our viewers, you are being interviewed here as Charrandas Persaud, a national icon. We will stay clear of any discussion of diplomacy, any discussion of India. I want to get back into the dark period of the no confidence vote. When you were being driven to safety in Barbados through the Ogle Airport, were you looking back? When you were in the car, were you looking back? You had to be looking back.
I'll tell you something, Freddie. I knew, and I still think at that time, that I was extremely, extremely blessed to be out of that situation alive. I could have been out of it, but people would have had to carry me. And again, I was so scared. I honestly didn't even know where I was going, what I was doing. The flight was booked to Barbados through
Ogle Airport.
Through Ogle Airport. I didn't tell anybody that. And so when I went there, I was up to the point of the plane taking off and being above the waters of Guyana, the land of Guyana. I didn't feel safe.
Let me stop you there, because who don't know? I interviewed Mr. Charrandas. I'm not sure what he is willing to say now, But in that interview there, he made some shocking disclosure as to what would have happened. And it's public records. It would have been on Kaito Radio, I think, about a year or so back. And he would have said that there was the involvement very secretly, well, at least at that point in time, talking and asking for their protection because I think you were a citizen too, or
Yes,
you were a
Canadian.
citizen of Canada, and he asked, and so there was some protection that was coming from officials within the Canadian High Commission, and he when he came out, he was given the protection and placed and given that protection until at the airport, and so there was a lot of things. But I want to ask you, maybe you could give us a little details to that. But sitting in that airplane, maybe with a bag, your worldly possession again, that you leave in the country, you're not sure what is going to happen next
Yes.
because you could not have foreseen that there would have been maybe the change of government within 1 day, 2 day or so. What thoughts went through your mind? Is this the end of me? I made a mistake. I know I asked you a question, but on the sky looking down at Guyana from Ogle there. Some thoughts with
You
the
know,
bag at the back of the
at
plane.
that time, like I said, until I was in Barbados, well, fully away from Guyana, I did not feel safe. And I felt even up to then that I would die. But I had written letters to my relatives, my son and my daughter-in-law and grandsons, to say, look, this is what I did, but I had to do this. And whatever the result, if you're reading this letter, then it's because I'm no longer around. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, that never happened. And so I told my secretary, who had the letters to mail, to burn the letters. But I took refuge in the Canadian embassy because I hold a Canadian passport. And that was the biggest issue in the whole no confidence legal fight. That as a Canadian, I couldn't vote and should not have been sitting
When
in
there
the
were
parliament.
others who were,
When there were many others.
Lupa Dominique Gaskin. The
I
rest,
think Joseph Harmon too.
yeah.
Joseph
But
Harmon had.
I don't know. I don't want
Yeah.
nobody to sue.
No, no, it is a public record that he
Oh
was
yes,
one
yes,
of
yes.
them.
He
Yeah.
left Parliament.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Harmon was one of them too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But again, that I did not I wasn't afraid. I don't know why, but I wasn't afraid. I was just at that stage. I knew that I would die and I was content to go this way because I did what I had to do. And I knew that I had to do it because nobody else was going to do it. You cannot, as we did, as AFC did in the coalition, put about 120,000 people on the breadline to lay off 30,000 sugar workers with a family of four, two children, husband and wife. One is a sugar worker. You have put 30 times 4, 3 fours, 12, 120,000 people on the breadline. And you know why? Because they didn't vote for the coalition. That is all the reason Nagamutu and Harman and Granger and them had for closing the sugar estates. Obviously, sugar wasn't making money. But if say you produce sugar at 15 cents a pound, let's just take small numbers, and it you have to sell it, sorry, you produce it at 30 cents a pound, and you have to sell it at 15 cents, you lose half the money. But everybody in Guyana who is working will be paying taxes. The sugar estate, that is. That is money that you get back. So it's not the full 15% or half the money that you lose. You get back in taxes. Then the other thing to that is these are now happy people who can feed their families, who will contribute to society in a meaningful way. Their children will go to school or be able to go to school. That was what we stopped. For a lot of people in Ghana, we, the coalition, did that. And I could not allow that to continue because you saw other atrocities. What people don't know, or you probably should know, that plane loads of Haitians were coming in the country. Richard Allen, who was a member of parliament, told me one day, man, I'm so tired. I said, well, you're tired, you're a pensioner. You sit in parliament collecting $260,000 a month. How can you be tired? Yeah, man, I have to go in the interior and register these people.
No. Please.
Oh, all right, fine.
We don't want to get any
Ask the
libel.
question, Freddie.
We withdraw that statement about Mr.
Oh, you're in
Allen,
court.
right.
He's in court now. All right.
This man is a lawyer. Gildarie, you want people to sue you for millions, you have millions. We always have to be careful. Mr. Allen told you some things in relation
All
to
right.
Haitian. Right.
How about Haitians?
Right.
All right.
Um,
Now,
Ja-
the Haitians would have made the difference in the voting had they been allowed to continue coming into the country.
Are you accusing the AFC APNU government of having a deliberate system in place that would have allowed the Haitians and Cubans to become citizens?
If I say that, I can't prove that.
Did you
So-
believe so in your heart?
In my heart, I was told that that's what they were doing. I was told that's what they were doing. So, again, you had to stop that flow.
Can we go back to evil and how evil was prevented? Charon, we had a guest here, the former Commissioner of Police, Charrandas Persaud. And what Charrandas told us was quite revealing. Charrandas said that there were indications to reshape the police force as part of a bigger plan in relation to election. I keep saying that is where you come in. You did not prevent them from holding on to power. They held on to power for 1 year. But your no confidence consequences, literally, virtually, and scientifically, place them in confusion.
Total confusion,
And,
right?
the psychology of planning was
Yeah.
disrupted.
It was.
And
That-
so we were saved
Yes.
from permanent power.
They did not expect that. And so, but once it happened, their entire plan, everything was shattered. They had to revisit, and they had no time to revisit. They were hustling courts.
And we were saved, and some people would not see you as an icon. Charon, let me repeat. You are an icon, and I have devoted more than 20 columns
Thank you, Freddie.
contextualizing your role. I would hope after your stint is over that you come back to Guyana and get full in politics. The young people need to know about your historical role.
Maybe I should consider writing a book, Freddie.
You have to.
It's something that a niece of mine who's a professor at Lehman's College in the Bronx said, spend 2 weeks with me in New York. I will get the book written, and then we can look at publicized, but at least we will have your story, your life story. But I may give that a serious little attention, but a little later from now.
But do you know, if we go back to the constituency system, if you assign to a constituency, very few opposition candidates would beat you. You probably, in Kanji where you come from,
Yeah.
whoever they put against you, you'll win in a landslide.
Wouldn't survive. That's
How
right.
do you
yeah.
come to these conclusions, Freddie?
How do I come to those conclusions?
Is that based on...
I ain't come to no conclusion. It's the opinion I'm giving.
Oh, okay. I could almost swear this guy has had some numbers up his sleeve or something. The president has appointed an international COI to look into the events of the 2020 elections.
Election, yes.
Have you been asked to come back or to give any kind of testimony?
No,
No. And if you're asked, would you be willing to do so?
of course.
Okay.
Yes.
If you
I
were...
hope
Sorry.
they ask me.
But is it, I haven't seen the terms of reference to that. Does it go back before or is this around the 2020 elections and after? Do you know? Freddie?
You have to go through the antecedents.
And
You'll
that's part of it.
have to go through the antecedents. But you should be glad you were not around during the 2020 election. We were on Kaito Radio. You know the insanities, the violent
Yes.
insanities that were going on. Do you know there were some PPP leaders that were endangered?
Of course, I know. Yeah.
I could tell you about one woman who they had in mind. She's currently a minister that they had targeted. So I think it was a good thing, given how that election was the consequences, was part two of your no confidence
Yes, true,
something.
yes.
So you would have been, the mere presence would have invoked
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our sincere apologies. The devil is in the wires, and there's nothing we can do but that. But we're back, and we just have about 10 minutes more. Freddie,
The show is not sabotage your program because
I
of
don't know.
Charan.
How did you come up with these things, Freddie? Okay, go ahead, Freddie.
Yeah, Charan, that when the no confidence motion was finished, dusted, and you had gone, then we had the election, and we had 5 months. I want to
counting,
use strong words. We had 5 months of farce, 5 months of masturbation, 5 months of insanities.
bullyism.
When you were in abroad and these 5 months were unfolding, what came through your mind? It had to be good. I'm glad we forced them to rig the election so the international community can see. But there was one facetious, hilarious moment that relates to you personally during those 5 months. Ramjatan said the Russians bought eraser and pens to rig the election. Did that happen? The Russians?
No, he said that there were 4 Russians, and he deported. 3 were deported. He couldn't find the 4th Russian.
So that man may be still here.
I have a friend who studied in Russia, and I call her the 4th Russian. I'm telling you, she's she does the weather report and stuff.
Oh, I know, Tanya.
Yeah. I call her the 4th Russian because Ramjatan knew that 4 were in the country, and he deported 3. Come on, man.
We don't have electronic voting and computerized voting. So what became of the pens and the erasers?
Well, where are they? That's right. You know, the things that they said, you'd wonder where they were getting it from. Was it just, let's say something? And that's what they did. And again, I was saying this, when an election date is fixed, Parliament is dissolved. People, you understand what when a parliament is dissolved, what it means? There's no minister, there's no prime minister or any government official holding these high offices. But they were all running around as ministers, threatening to recall the accreditation of the observer team and all these things. Those were things, and those are things that you must never forget. And I don't care what party you belong to. Those were wrong things. And you should not condone the wrong things. Look what they did. Look what they did. And look what they put the country through. Now Guyanese, not just PPP people or PPP supporters, all of Guyana is enjoying a lot of nice things.
Mr. Persaud, we just have like about 2 minutes more,
Wow.
and in the closing statements, could you you struck me, or you painted a picture which says that your conscience was a guide. Yes, your conscience was a guide, and that you voted along that way, which tells me that you're a person who is not sitting still. You're paying attention, although you hold a government or a position in the diplomatic circles now. I'm sure that you would be agitated to say to the government, "You're going wrong here," or "You're going here." Have you been playing a role to make sure that this country stays on course?
You know, it's not a difficult question to answer, but I'll tell you. And we had decided earlier we're not going to talk about my position as High Commissioner.
No, we don't want to talk about that. You're not.
But I am saying this publicly. Anything that I do outside of my personal life, when I look at Guyana, I hope that the Guyanese can benefit from it.
We got to go now, but there's 2 things I want to end on a light note. We spoke on the same platform in the 2015 election.
Yes.
And I remember one night, you always make Gail Barker curry for me. One night, my security detail demanded that your sister, right, give him the extra Gail Barker because he said he never tastes Gail Barker like
So
that.
nice, yeah, true.
I think the best Gail Barker I've ate after my wife is you. Secondly, 34 years ago, you had this beautiful Indian lady. And
Friend.
I remember you, friend. I remember you invited me.
Careful with the words.
I remember you
Yeah.
invited me to a party she was having,
Yes.
and I'm not a night person. I didn't come. What became of that lady?
Freddie, we were very good friends. And then I left the country while she was still a diplomat. Her father was still a diplomat in Guyana. And then their 3-year term, or his 3-year term, 3 years term was up, and she had just finished her degree at the university.
She told me she wanted to marry you. She told me that.
That could have been possible, but
She told me that. No, she told me that. You know that. You know that. I think we got to go, but Charan.
No, yes, but she was married to an Indian national. They lived in Australia for quite a number of years, and she has 2 daughters.
Okay.
Very happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Freddie the confidant.
No. Seriously, Charan know that.
If you want to go somewhere and Freddie invite you out, make sure that you have money in your wallet.
no.
He makes you pay for it. I can tell you that from personal experience.
You're lying.
But we thank you for joining us. Of course, we want to say thank you, Mr. Charrandas Persaud, a man who has played a role. Some view him as a hero. Other people have other opinion, and that is what democracy is all about. We should agree to disagree. On Friday, we have a very... I told Freddie that he's eloquent and he's also controversial as well, but that's what we're all about. In the hot seat on Friday is a gentleman, Ganesh Mahipal.
No,
I'm not going to
that's
describe
next
it.
Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah, this
Sorry,
Friday
my
coming is
apologies. On
Mr.
Friday,
Hamilton
it
Green.
is Hamilton Green, former Prime Minister. Of course, I want to ask him some questions, and I'm going to tell you for that. But we hope that you join us. It is in the hot seat, and this is the Gildarie Freddie Show. Thank you for joining us today, and see you back on Friday, same place, same time.
Thank you very much.